This offshore oil rig is 16 floors tall. And its width is equal to 2 football fields. And surprisingly, its weight is more than an aircraft carrier. This oil platform is known as Appomattox, which is now present in North America, 130 kilometers away from the shore of Louisiana in the Gulf of Mexico. But it was not built there. Many years from today, thousands of kilometers away, this journey was started from South Korea, where thousands of workers and engineers were busy building this giant structure. After 7 years of sheer hard work, when Appomattox was completed, the engineers faced such a challenge which they were facing for the first time in their lives. The problem was that this huge structure was to be transported from South Korea to the Gulf of Mexico. For that purpose, world's largest marine vessel was hired. To put Appomattox on the marine vessel was such a task, which was expected to take 7 days. But then they were given a bad news, that a storm is building in the Pacific Ocean. And after some time a more bad news was given, the storm has now taken the form of a super typhoon. This type of typhoon only comes once in 20 years. Rotating with the speed of 195 miles per hour, in the next 7 days, this typhoon can now attack North Korea at any time. Everyone knows, when a super typhoon attacks somewhere, it can prove to be a disaster. Now the challenge for the workers, engineers and transport experts was that, work which was of 7 days, now these people had to complete it within 3 days. Means, if Appomattox was not loaded on the marine vessel, and transported towards the Gulf of Mexico, it was a danger that the hard work of many years can be lost in an instance. This was such a problem, which left all the management in a deep calamity. Viewers, this oil platform was the most big project of the Shell company, and that was the reason. There was no space even for a little mistake. To avoid super typhoon and to transport Appomattox, it was necessary to complete these little works which were left, and for that an extra force of workers was hired. They worked day and night to start preparing Appomattox for the transportation. And on the other hand, management team along with the meteorological team was having a deep eye on the movement of the super typhoon. They had a hope that maybe this super typhoon will change its direction. And then their hopes got destroyed when they came to know that typhoon was moving directly towards South Korea from the Pacific Ocean. Workers has completed the Appomattox's remaining work in 3 days with a great hard work. And it was the turn to put this huge structure on the marine vessel. This structure's weight surprisingly was told to be 41,000 tons. This much steel was not even used in world's tallest building Burj Khalifa, which was used in this oil rig. With the help of huge hydraulic jacks it was forced to move inch by inch, and was put on a floating dry dock. With the help of tugboats, now this dry dock was moved toward the marine vessel, from where it was to be loaded. This is the world's largest transport marine vessel, which can carry 98,000 tons of weight easily. And on it Appomattox was to travel towards the world's next corner, the Gulf of Mexico. Next morning, Appomattox was unloaded from the dry dock. Now the oil platform was floating on the water for the first time. Again with the help of tugboats, Appomattox was brought more towards the deep water, where this marine vessel was waiting for it. On the other side super typhoon was continuously moving towards South Korea, and a sword was still hanging on the management team. Super typhoon was now 48 hours away, and by time it was moving close, its signs also start to appear in the ocean. Now the next task to load Appomattox on marine vessel was a very complex work. For it, marine vessel first intake water in its water tanks, due to which it goes in the ocean water. After that, tugboats brought Appomattox onto the vessel. After this, the vessel take out the water from water tanks, and due to which vessel moves upwards. But this work is not that easy. Which you have just saw in this animation, for that the sea should be cool and calm, otherwise the Appomattox will not be aligned on the vessel, and this thing can be dangerous for both vessel and the Appomattox. Because of super typhoon the sea was not quiet and due to winds and large waves, this task was not possible. On other hand, time was passing quickly, and the stress level of the whole team was rising. Fortunately from the meteorology department, team was given 2 hours on the next morning. It was chance that during these 2 hours sea can be quiet. If this work will not done in these 2 hours, there will not be a further chance. Now super typhoon was 36 hours away, on the next morning as told the sea was quiet. Firstly the oil platform brought on the vessel, and the vessel loaded it on itself by taking the water out from its water tanks. Many hours before the super typhoon, Appomattox was able to say goodbye to the seashores of South Korea. Shell team had done well to keep their Appomattox safe from the typhoon. But that does not mean it will not face any challenge now. After many months of traveling it was unloaded in South Texas, because 4 modules was such, which were to be built there. One by one after fitting these 4 modules, once again it was moved 130 kilometers away for its destination, where it had to stay for the next 40 years. After 7 years of hard work, now the moment came, when Appomattox was to be connected 30,000 feet below to the oil well. Where Appomattox is floating, the sea bottom is 7,400 feet deep. This is that much deep, that 3 Burj Khalifa can be fit there. The oil well which was to be connected with Appomattox was still 22,600 feet deep even from the seabed. Water pressure in this area of ocean is very high, where a man can go and performing a mission there is impossible. For that, it was decided to use a remotely operated underwater vehicle. Installation crew which was installing underwater pipeline from another platform, they sent our OV in the sea with help of a crane. This is a very complicated task, in which the pipeline should be landed accurately on the oil well opening. This complicated task is done by a ROV operator, which performs this task like video game. Fortunately, this work was done on the very first attempt. Now, it was the turn to transfer pipe from installation plant to Appomattox. This process this known as riser transfer, in which 4 different vessels work simultaneously. First a chain from Appomattox was taken. Then our OV transferred the chain to the second ship. The chain was then tugged by the second platform, and in last the chain from the Appomattox took the pipe toward itself. Now drilling process was started, thousands of feet below from the seabed. Pipe had to drill 22,600 feet more deep. After many months of drilling, the pipe had now reached the oil well. Now, it was the turn to pump the oil. To watch this moment the whole team gathered. With the help of a button, the oil pump was turned on. From the 30,000 feet deep well, when the oil pumped for the first time, their faces had a smile which nobody can explain. Workers, engineers and experts' 7 years hard work had turned fruitful, and the flow of oil and its quality was more than perfect. Today Appomattox produce 1,75,000 barrels of oil daily. From which that much petrol is produced, which 40 lakh cars consumes daily. Shell believes that Appomattox will continue to produce oil like this for the next 40 years. Hope you liked this episode, and thank you very much for your loving comments. We'll see you in the next awesome video.